All right, Kristina's coming to the table for 23, 24, 25.
Hello, thanks for having me.
No, definitely. I was just like, absolutely. When I was just like, I'm having a podcast, I was like, which one am I going to do with Kristina? Which episode am I going to do with Kristina? Because we have a lot of good conversations.
Yes, we have the best conversations.
And I just love hearing you speak about different topics. So I'm excited to let our viewers get a little peek and a little bit of glimpse into the privilege that is hearing you discuss.
Thank you.
So we're going to be talking about decisions today. And my first just little icebreaker question is, can you tell me about a time, or can you tell us about a time where you fell into temptation or you succumbed to the temptation of something even though you knew it wasn't the right decision?
I'm really good at saying no to temptation.
That's good.
But I can say that there's probably been a couple of jobs where I should not have taken. For real reasons like financial stability and being an adult, and have been drained away by, what do you call that? Not having time for my creativity. For example, during COVID, I succumbed to COVID testing. Because I was like, I took an online course on Coursera. I was like, I could dig in people's nose as long as I'm wearing a little coat and
you were testing people for COVID.
I was COVID testing because I was just like, oh my God, like it's so easy to become a COVID tester.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no one knows that. That's not something I would ever tell anyone. But I took that course and I was like, why am I here? But I mean, granted, I was able to save up and do things with that, but every day there, I was like, I could be home reading a book or painting or writing a poem. Like, it was just a dread.
Yeah. We're writing a poem.
Memories. That's the past.
Oh my goodness. Those things, like COVID brought up so many like money making opportunities. I feel like there were a lot of choices just thrown in front of us, and it was just like a lot of pressure to hop on something or like learn how to invest and all this different type of stuff, and like kind of like really getting people to like maximize this time where it feels like the world is ending and like also take advantage of the world being shut down and us not having to do certain things, or the fact that we couldn't go certain places. And so I get it. I was like, at first I thought you meant that you were going to get tested and that just like was a whole different experience, but you were doing the testing.
I got a certification. I learned some things, and then I went to work, and it didn't last long, but every day was a dread.
Yeah. It's interesting to me how some people have that experience and decide to stay. Like, how do you make it through? I've been in jobs too that I took for the financial stability, and a lot of times they didn't last more than a month and a half. Like, they really didn't last more than 6 weeks most of the time. And then other jobs, I think the longest one was probably like 6 months, where I was just like, okay, let me just stay here and see if I could get used to it. And like, no, I was like, this, and also it was ramping up my anxiety. Like, I was just like, I don't want to be here, and it's causing me physical pain.
Yeah, sounds about right. I was drinking coffee every morning, but not just like regular coffee. I was like stopping by Dunkin' Donuts and like drenching my coffee in sugar just so I could like make it through. And I don't like coffee with sugar. I don't. It was just like, honestly, this was ruining my health, and what has always guided me is my health comes first. So I just put my health first and I left and started watching shows and had the best time, took walks and actually used that free time that COVID gifted us with. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's the capitalistic society is not it. It just feels against what my natural instincts are. There's something I like to do. I should be able to put my full heart into it. I should be able to put my full focus on it. Like this. And then jobs just take up so much of your time that it's just like, okay, what else do I have time in the day to do after that? Just like get ready for bed, sleep, wake up and do that again. Like,
Yes. You ever seen that post that goes something about jobs is where your dreams go to die?
I believe it.
I'm like, yes, they kill your dreams.
Like, unless I can make my dream my job, then we usually have a problem. Right. Yeah, we usually have a problem, but we're here to talk about decisions and like I think a big decision is choosing like whether you want to just like assimilate to that type of life or like take the risk and do what you really love even if you have to try to figure it out and it's harder. That being said, hello, welcome to the pod. Welcome to 23, 24, 25. This is a podcast about being slapped in the face by not only 2023, but also by the wildly complicated transition that is turning 25. I'm your host, Josca, and I've invited my friends to the table to talk about all things life as baby adults. And today I'm joined by Kristina, another good friend from college. We were also one of my first friends when I got to New York from London. Like when we were going to all those little like orientation setups. Like, cause I'm like, I guess we had a class together, but like we didn't have like similar schedules all that much, but we did hang out quite a bit.
We did.
I really like that.
No, I really loved it. Like, I met so much beautiful people that like stuck with me. It's crazy. And the friends that I'm like cool with now are the people that I was super tight with that first year of school. So yes, that school did one thing good.
Right. I was just like it had some pros. Like I was like some good community. I really have a lot of people that I love that came out of NYU. So just like I'm happy about it. I pick apart their downfalls because you already know when I was at that school, I was like writing to administration, like we were on our financial aid like prowl, and I was just like, this is the problem with this institution, writing letters to the president. But through all that, I'm like, I had my friends, and luckily enough, like they were people I could really relate to. PWI, sometimes you're not always gonna get that.
Yeah, meeting people from all different walks of life, like crazy.
Yeah, it was so expansive. That was a really, honestly, integral experience for me. Like just getting to learn about different people's day to day and inside of their cultures, and like getting like a first look because people were so willing and like open to talking about that.
Yeah, definitely was an upside going to school there. And the international students were amazing. Like, it's crazy.
I'm like, yeah, they had a little pro with that one. But we're gonna go ahead and jump ahead into our activity with our top five, with our riff off of top eight, but it's like the MySpace top five. Basically, it's an activity for people to get to know you better. And you could talk about five things that influence your growth or five things that, you depend on to get you through life, just to give us a glimpse at who you are. And they could be real people, fictional people, things, concepts, characters. Like the list is vast and the floor is yours.
Cool. So my MySpace top 5, number 1 is grass, trees, and the ocean.
Yes.
Nature is where I feel home. Coming back to nature is what grounds me. Sleeping on the grass in Washington Square Park in school is what gave me the mental capacity and space to even go into certain buildings. I've always loved trees. I don't know, like that's how I learned how to pray. I used to like talk to trees.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I love that.
Yeah, trees have so much energy. I feel like trees have so much wisdom. They've been around longer than us. They're so strong, they're so sturdy. Their roots are like in the ground. So I'll talk to a tree. When I meditate, I pretend I'm a tree, so that I could root myself into the ground. And I've always loved the ocean. One of my safe havens was always going to Shirley Chisholm Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a bay, but to me, it's like the closest us. Like I'm from New York, so we have the Atlantic Ocean, and to me, the Atlantic Ocean is so significant when you talk about like our ancestors. Mm-hmm. So I constantly want to go to the ocean. I constantly want to pray at the ocean just so I can get those answers for myself. But even like closing my eyes and hearing those sounds, yeah, it just reminds me that we're small, we have nothing to worry about. Time would do its thing. My second top 2 is Susan Laurie Parks. Mm-hmm. I just really gravitated towards her body of work in college. And reading her work, I feel like the structure made me feel normal. Like there were like rhythms in it that felt very natural to me. Like things were not so linear, and my thoughts are not linear. So I just always felt seen in her work. I always felt like I could understand her work. I didn't have to try too hard. It didn't make my brain feel small, which was like a thing in me for school. I think like people were reading text that no one understood, but it was like the race of like who can understand it. Mm-hmm. And there's some of like I feel like Susan Laurie Parks has some of those works, but I just remember relating to that, like the structure. And then also it was like my first time really absorbing a Black woman playwright. Yeah. Third top 5, well, yeah, is Sama Okoye, which we both know.
Yes, love Sama.
Sama, my post-grad transition to me is held with the fact that I had Sama as my friend to have those hard conversations with. Like the most difficult and the most expansive conversations spiritually, mentally, artistically I've had with Sama. And every conversation with her, I've learned so much, and I just love the way that she carries herself. I love the way that she celebrated me and celebrates me continually. And I just like constantly look up to her. Y'all should sama.okoye on Instagram. Right. Love that. You know, Sama's amazing. She deserves flowers.
I remember we were on the beach and you were talking about Sama, and I was just like, this is so beautiful to hear that she has been such a guiding light for you and such like a mutual like force of celebration. I was like, that's very beautiful.
Yeah, she's dope. She's so dope. Top 4, I would say, is Katniss in the Hunger Games. Yes. Me and my roomie actually bought it for $3 to watch it like a couple days ago.
Oh.
I'm like, first of all, she was acting. She was acting, but it was just like the range and the stillness at the same time. Mm-hmm. and the strength and the empathy and the vulnerability and the toughness and the survival, and it was rich, you know, like, and I started to imagine, like, what would I sacrifice myself for? But it wasn't that she was willing to die. It was that she was willing to live. But what are you living for? Like,
Yes.
so that was deep. I need to give that a rewatch. Better yet, I might need to read that book.
Oh man, I remember high school when I read the book, when I was just like a bookworm back then, and like I couldn't put down like that was a page turner for real.
I need to get into that. And then my top 5 is a cup of coffee. That was like the easiest way to put my family in this, because I can't name everybody in my family that's had an impact on me, but coffee makes me feel like home. Fun fact, when I came home from the hospital, my grandfather sticked his thumb in coffee and put it in my mouth. And when I go see my
why did he do that?
I don't know. Caribbean people are crazy. I have no idea. I don't know.
So you really have that coffee connection.
Yeah, when I see my grandmother, she makes me a cup of coffee. My mom, she loves when I make her coffee. I love when she makes me coffee. Now I drink matcha. I'm like transitioning into matcha because coffee be making me jump.
Yeah.
But now it's a treat when I have it.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't used to drink coffee at all, but like I grew up watching my dad just like be such a coffee drinker, and when I used to like try to drink it during those long nights in school where I had like a lot of homework and I thought I was never gonna get done with anything, and I needed to stay up and I needed to, I don't know, it just felt like some type of rite of passage back then, and then I found out that it kind of makes you poop. I was like, ain't nobody told me all this.
Coffee can do one or two things. It can either make you really constipated or it can really make you poo. But matcha now has so many health benefits, and it's, sorry, you can see all the but, and it's an anti-inflammatory. This is doing its thing.
Okay, I need to be drinking more matcha then, because I've been looking for more anti-inflammatory stuff.
Yes, and I think that green tea has a lot of antioxidants. Don't quote me, but matcha.
Okay, get into it. Get into it. The matcha girlie's been onto something. I need to get hip.
It's delicious.
Thank you for sharing your top 5. I really, really love the dynamicism of your top 5, and I love how coffee is like a connection to home for you. And I'm like, that's beautiful.
Yes.
It's really, really sweet. Okay, so I'm going to start asking you some questions about our topic for today, which is decisions, decisions, decisions. And my first question is, in the face of diverse opportunities, the paradox of choice that artists often encounter can perpetuate a fear of missing out or making the wrong choice. How do you manage the emotional aspects of decision making and navigate feelings of uncertainty?
That's something today that I'm still navigating.
Yeah, for sure.
I am a person that has incredible FOMO. I am a person that, when given a choice to make, I lay in bed and stare at my ceiling for 2 hours. So I can't really pretend to have the answer to that, but what has been guiding me lately is that once I make a decision, I don't look back.
That's important.
And this is something that I actually discovered within the last 2 weeks.
Oh.
Yes, and initially through a work of art, a Robert Frost poem.
Ah.
Do you know this poem?
Wait, what's the poem? Which poem?
I can't remember the name. I think it's the lonely traveler, the road less traveled. But basically, in the poem, a man is standing at a forest, and there's these two paths, and he's trying to figure out which one he's gonna go down. Last stanza, he's basically talking about the path he went down with a sigh, ages and ages later, and he's wondering what was down that other path. Mm-hmm. And through reading this poem literally for a couple days, I made the decision that I don't want to be that last stanza. Yeah. I don't want to live my life with a sigh, thinking about the other path. I think that it is okay in life to pivot. Mm-hmm. It's okay to experience the path you're on and let it teach you something. And it's okay to get off the road. Mm-hmm. You know, that's where I'm at. Yeah. Yeah,
it's okay to get off the road. That was something that I needed to hear, to be honest. It's okay to just get off the road entirely.
And then I went to church Sunday, and they were talking about Isaiah 43, and I can't even remember, but this changed my life. It was don't you see good things are coming? Don't you not see it? I would put road like a path in a forest, and I would put rivers in a desert for you.
Wow.
And I was just like, it's okay. Newness can be accepted.
Yeah.
Why miss out on something that in 5 minutes is old?
Oof.
So I don't know. That's been sitting with me for the past 2 weeks. So we should definitely ask this question in the next year and in the next 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is a question to keep returning to. Definitely. Mm-hmm. There's something about the fear of missing out for me that I just feel like I have to remind myself too that I'm so young. And also, besides being young, like even if I was older, you're still always going to be learning new things all the time. Like it's not, doesn't just stop just because you turn like 40 or something like that, whatever age. But
yeah, exactly.
I think this is important to keep asking and then just keep reminding yourself that, oh, like there's opportunities and I just have to like keep exploring and and really stick with something when it gets hard, but you still like the idea of it. Don't get off the road just because it's hard. But if you still are interested, if you still like the idea, I'm like, okay, let me figure out how to get through this rough part, this part where there's a big learning curve. Usually for me, it's like, oh, this big learning curve is a little bit intimidating, but I just have patience in those moments. Like try to exercise that patience and like get through that, because another thing I remember is I'm gonna keep coming up against this point with a lot of different things that I start to try to do that I haven't done before. So
yes. You know, a question I always ask myself is, does this align with my purpose?
Right, me too. That's like one of my biggest questions. I say purpose, I say passion statement.
I need a passion statement. But I guess this would be a good place to ask you a question.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we could do it like that.
So have you ever heard you are one decision from your next big break? And is there a decision you look back on that would have steered you in a different direction, and how do you think about it?
I think it's interesting when people say like you're one decision from your next big break. I think like decisions like cause like, you know, a rainfall of events happen a lot of the times. Sometimes I think about the decision of my choice of college and what happened with my journey at NYU, which I'm really grateful for. But also, you know, you wonder sometimes, what if I would have chosen a different school, or what if I would have chosen like to do something different with my summers? Like sometimes I was just like not not knowing how to just keep it all together when I was hitting up against a lack of like financial resources, and I'm like, I want to do all these things, but all these things cost money, and I want to learn how to do filmmaking, for example, but like I don't know how to find the right collaborators and just like everything that was going into those type of things. But I'm just trying to think of an actual decision that if I would have gone somewhere differently, or do I think that I don't know. I think I've been pretty in tune with my decisions that I've made, and like I don't think not that I can recall, I don't think I've ever said no to something, or I've ever gone a different route that I felt like I look back and I said like a big what if. Um and that's another reason why like I went to London for first year of college, because I was just like I don't want to look back at that and say what if. I was just like at the time also I was really young, so I was like this sounds fun. I don't know what this is gonna bring, but I've never been out of the United States before, and it could be like this big adventure. And I guess I've always been prone and attracted to the adventure aspect of a lot of things. And I've always been so quick to like apply for something that sounds cool, like I want to do this and I want to do that. Now there have been some things where I just like or there have been some instances where I'm just like, ooh, I want somebody to offer me something so bad that I can say no to, because sometimes I just want to think that or like, I don't know, in my head, I want to like test my integrity and be like, if somebody ever offers me something and like the money looks too good or something, but it's not the type of thing that aligns with my purpose, like you were saying before, then that would be something I say no to. And I imagine that it'll be kind of like difficult to say no to it because it's like a check or something like that. But if it doesn't align with my purpose, yeah, like I don't think I've come across that specifically yet, but I'd like to think that, yeah, I'm just going to take the road that feels good to me, that I'm instinctually drawn to. And yeah, whatever aligns with me, that's where we're going to go. And it could change, like my purpose can look differently as I continue to evolve, but at any given moment, whatever aligns with my purpose, that's where I'm going to go.
You know, that's crazy because in school you always strike me as someone who, and this is just confirmation of that, you always strike me as someone who knew exactly, like, had it all figured out.
Really?
Yes.
My head
is you always had your work done and a million other things. And I just remember like admiring that and being like, okay, this is someone who knows what they want and goes after it. You know, which was a lot of learning for me, because in school there were moments where I knew what I wanted, but I put in place of that doubt.
Yeah.
So it's like I always loved your grit to like apply to things. You know? And some students are thinking, am I worthy of applying? And then all that time goes by and they don't apply.
Yeah.
But you were like applying to a million things, and I was just like, wow.
Sometimes
this and apply to that.
Yeah. Sometimes it was just like cool to me because like there are just so many things out there, and like so many opportunities where people are offering to pay your way. And when I found that out, when I addressed the fact that I had a lack of resources in that area, and when I found that out, I was like, I can do a fellowship. Like, if there's something I really wanted to do, and it sounded like something I had to kind of probably pay for to do, I'm like, my thought process was like, let me see if there's like a fellowship or something that will just teach me how to do that thing instead, because then they'll pay me. Like when I was interested in casting, it was like a similar process for me. I was just like, is there any way I can take classes or get apprenticeship in a format where I don't have to pay to go to school? And I found a little like trainee program and they paid us a little stipend. I was just like, hey, listen, I'll take it.
You are a person of strategy.
Yes. I'm just like, but you know what? Sometimes I hate that. Like sometimes I want things to come with a lot more ease to me. It's really valuable, and I really think that we could use strategy in a lot of areas, but sometimes I get burnt out by the fact that I have to do that for a lot of things. I don't want that to be my whole like process, having to like figure everything out, and like some things I just want to go get it because I have it and I can, and I'm just like, that's what I'm striving for, to get to that point where I can create the thing and I don't have to like search for it so much and search for the best possible way I can make it happen with the limited resources that I have, in that type of mindset. But I mean, that's kind of what we're on our way to.
Yes, for sure. Wow. See, I'm even learning so much in this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Wow.
My second question, which is about the financial opportunities, like I kind of mentioned before, but financial opportunities in the arts especially can be really alluring because you don't always get like the most. I mean, you might get some really fun projects and really want to do them, but kind of settle for less because the project seems really great, or the person who's doing it, you know, that they're really quality, creative, and what have you. But my question is, these opportunities may not always align with your values or your well-being, and so how do you approach decisions regarding creative projects that could compromise your integrity or beliefs? Which is, yeah, we talked about this a little bit, but I want to see kind of like what your stance is on it a bit.
I don't, what's the word? Sorry, let's let the noise subside. But I don't accept opportunities that compromise my integrity.
Period.
Well, at least not as an actor.
Yeah.
I'll accept opportunities that compromise my integrity as a producer. Not that like what I feel like integrity is such a big word. It's an umbrella to me. There is, when I think about compromising my integrity, I think, okay, is this compromising my image? Is this compromising my mental health?
Yeah.
Is this compromising my body? Production is one of those fields where the project itself is beautiful to contribute to, but the hours compromising my integrity. Because why do I give someone the right to 80 hours of my life for a week?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. True.
So yes, you leave feeling like you've done something cool, but you leave in pain, you leave drained, feeling like you're pimped out. But when it comes to my acting, I've probably been offered one thing, and of course, like I put that down and was like, it was a commercial for an e-cig.
You did it?
No. No. I do not want that to be a part of my image.
Right.
I mean, great. Like, it came at a point where I needed, like, but I was just like, no.
Right.
There's no power in that.
Yeah.
And the power in that is temporary. Checks, temporary.
Checks are temporary.
You know, like that's gonna be out there forever if I've accepted like readings for free or super low amount. But to me, that's building my integrity. I'm sharing space with people. I'm discovering new stories. I'm playing different characters and challenging different rhythms. And so, no, I don't. Yeah, I compromise my integrity physically and mentally sometimes, but my spirit, no.
Yeah, that's makes sense though, because we have to kind of adhere to a structure that already exists that we don't have much control over inside of the things that we want to do, like production schedules and rehearsal schedules and all that stuff. And they can take a lot of our time, and that's why we're always promoting self-care so much, because it's like the only thing you can really do is learn how to take care of your body outside of it and make sure you're not like falling apart.
Yep, that's the only thing we have time to do. But and like those schedules that are crazy, it's so hard because if you have like an in-depth ritual where you're probably going to yoga every day, or like you don't have time for that because your body has been so burnt out.
Yeah.
So those situations could just be dangerous, I feel. And then like we say that we can control things, like of course when you're on a production you try to eat more vegetables, you try to stay hydrated, you try to take your vitamins. But then sometimes it's kind of like, if I want to eat chicken and a burger every day because this is my moment of happiness, you're going to do that.
Yeah, that's true. I've been there. If you want to go to Crafty and get like all those fruit snacks and chocolates and all that stuff,
The Rice Krispies.
something to put a smile on your face, like.
Yes, of course I'm going to eat all the Rice Krispies.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that. And I'm glad you mentioned like that, sometimes people do these long lasting things. These things are going to exist for a long time for something so temporary like a check. Like, I don't think, like, thinking about it like that, like hearing you say it like that out loud, I was like, that just confirms further that it's really not worth it. It's really not worth it. Checks come and go all the time.
Yeah, but it's like, how do you want to make your money is the question that I'm like constantly revisiting.
Mm.
Because I don't want it to compromise my health. If we could find balance some way. I think also the 20s is, well, it's your whole life, but my 20s have been about, how do I find balance and create that boundary of balance
Yeah.
in everything that I do.
Yeah.
And honestly, some people don't respect balance.
True.
Because they're not balanced. So they're looking at you like this entitlement, like, what do you mean you want balance?
Right.
And it's like, honestly, if I'm being asked that question, I don't belong here.
Wow. True. Some people are so sucked up into like the way our society runs things, and they've become like bots to further like get that message out that we should be like working all the time or doing this or doing that, and just like it's tired. I feel like every time somebody comes at me with that, I'm like, I don't know. I just can't help but feel like you're doing their dirty work. Like you sound brainwashed. Because we can figure this out without all that. Like I don't have to give up my entire life and well-being to a job that I'm just doing in order to survive. Like there's no other benefits really. And these things should be a right to me. Like you should be up here telling me why that's not a right. Like you should be up here as frustrated as me that we don't have a right to these things that we're working so hard for.
What do you mean you've been listening this whole time and you haven't subscribed yet? I don't see what the holdup is. The button is right there. And while you're at it, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You obviously like the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And okay, so I think I can go to my second question with this.
Okay.
I feel like it's all like bouncing off of each other.
I love it.
And the reason why I say this is because, like, we're coming from a generation where, like, the generation that raised us was raised kind of by the generation that paved the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our grandparents' generation, they were breaking those barriers. You know, born in the 40s, their 20s was in the 60s, which is pivotal to our history as Black people, as Black women.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, now our parents who have that, okay, we're gonna go to school, we're gonna get a good job, we're gonna stay at that good job for however much years, because that good job made me stable enough to take care of you.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is the way, right? And now they have us where they're like, I just want to make TikTok videos.
Right, yeah.
Or like, I just want to do art. I want to monetize off of my self-care. Or like, my job isn't giving me enough time to do yoga. Like, I don't think I want my job anymore. Like, you know, that's how they hear us.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, like, we're constantly living in these systems where we're affected by the decisions of our culture, our parents. So where do you hope our decision leads the next generation? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a great question to talk about at this age too, because we are like crafting a culture. We're literally crafting a culture right now at this age with how many things that we're being innovative about. Like with, I don't know, we just create something new every day. Like even like with something as small as like slang. Like we are just like really shaping the ways of society into something different than it has ever looked like. And we can do it so quickly too because of like social media and the reach we have to communicate and connect with each other. But I guess my hope for the next generation, based off of like how we are crafting this culture, would just be like, I just want everybody to like keep fighting for like themselves, like to protect basically like peace of mind and not be overrun or overruled by a system or systematic things, because I think the problem in the past and to this day is that we have a lot of challenges that are like systematic, like keeping people out or like not built for, like this thing wasn't built for Black people or Black women, and that's why it's so hard for me. I just want us to like keep breaking down those barriers to the point where it's just like, what barrier? Like what barrier? And my next generation is that they can focus on something else finally. Like they can focus on their peace and like build strong communities. I feel like we're still in such a big state of individualism. Like it's every man for himself. It's, and I want, my hope is that we're more communal. We're not like, oh, you're busting your ass over there, I can't help you. Like lifting each other up. I remember this is so random, but this was so funny. One time I asked my friends, I was just like, have y'all ever seen any like Asian homeless people like on the streets of New York? Because I was just like wondering one day, and I was just like, and my friend was just telling me like about how like different communities take care of their own. And general, like we could, in general out here, we can be building stronger communities, but we've gone so individualistic that it's hard. Like those communities still exist in places, but it's hard for a lot of us, like locally in different towns and cities, to really just like participate as like people helping each other out. And like we don't, a lot of us don't know our neighbors nowadays. Like I want to get to that. I want to get down to the root of that. And my hope is that by the way we're connecting through social media, like I hope that it can just expand. And some of the things that social media does, like there are pros to some of the ways that we can connect and we can grow stronger as like groups. But but still, I just wish it would. I just hope it keeps going in the direction of that community, and like less of like, oh, I have to do all of this, or I'm gonna gatekeep all of this information because I found the golden ticket, and if I give it away, then I'm not helping myself anymore. And it's just like, whew, I just hope that that's not even a concern for the future generations. Like, that's my hope, that's my dream.
No, yeah. Oh, that is deep.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. I always try not to pour out of an empty cup. Well, you can't pour nothing out of an empty cup, but
Right, I get you.
it's just like, no, that is deep. Because, as we get older, we want to put ourselves in positions where we could take care of like the older generation. But also, it's like, in order to take care of the younger generation, we have to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one is deep.
Yeah, it's a lot that goes into it, and it's a lot of it's so interesting being this age, and it's just like I was just telling my sister that I feel like pulled in between the childhood and the adulthood feelings, and it's crazy that we're thinking about this already, about how we're gonna have such a big effect on the next generation, and like what kind of changes do we want to see be passed down, and what kind of like things can we do to be productive in just eliminating some of these systems. Honestly, oppression is a huge system, but it also like trickles down into a local setting a lot of the time, and we enforce certain things in our homes, we enforce certain things in our communities, and I'm just like, this is something we really have to start thinking about early. Even like if we choose to have kids, we have to think about that before we have kids. We have to think about that in conversations with family members, like parents who raised us, and like kind of talking about what was that, I went through growing up, like, and how can our parents' past inform what happened. And I always have this question of like, I know y'all felt some type of way when you were growing up, and what did that make you feel? Like, what did that make you feel? It's almost like I get into moments where it almost feels like I'm wondering if they can even remember, which is valid. I've forgotten, but I'm just sitting here like, damn, I wonder if they remember how that made them feel. Like, what was the connection? Like, what influenced your decision to treat me a certain way? And yeah.
Yeah. I can definitely say, like, growing up in like a first gen household, there were moments where I did feel invalidated because to me, I should just understand that I have the privilege of shelter and food.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just like, yes, in the grand scheme of things, I am grateful. But what if I want more?
Yeah.
And it became like a selfish thing to ask, and me wanting more would be ungrateful for what I already have. And it's just like, asking for things that you think are simple because they make you happy. It's kind of just like a reminder all the time that there are people that have like less than you.
Yeah.
And I do think looking back that there was probably a healthier way to do that. Because of course, like as a child, you're asking me to understand like these big things. But I respect it now as an adult because like every time I eat food, I'm like grateful. The fact that I have the ability to pay rent, grateful. Like I don't want to be homeless. But then it's also just like there are a lot of people that are houseless, and like I remember just college carrying all of that weight on me, like wanting to take care of the whole world.
No, I feel you.
And just like I think about global warming a lot. I think about how could we take care of others if we're not even taking care of the planet. I'm thinking about the shifts that have to happen in our generation for the youth to value the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a lot to do with, recycle, reuse, not engaging too much with consumerism, which I feel like we're moving a lot toward with social media and like products. And I don't know if we're getting better, and that scares me.
It seems hyper capitalist a lot of the times on social media. And I'm just like, and of course, I've fallen into that sometimes because sometimes it feels like, okay, I have to just go along with what's happening because they're making it so hard for me to exist outside of that. Because it's like when you're trying to do a group project and like four of the people are on the same page and wanting to do something so bad and you're the odd one out. And it's like, I can't even make this work if I'm the only one doing it. I have to have a community of people doing it with me or else it's obsolete.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you can do it.
Yes.
And I say this because I've been getting better at my Target shops.
Mm-hmm.
Because now when I go into Target with a list, I don't play. I leave with that list. And before I would go to Target, and I think it starts there, like I would go to Target and I would go in with the list, but it was like what else I found on my way to the list. But now I really ask myself, do I need this?
Yeah.
As much as you want a new perfume bottle that you can't reuse the bottle. But it's like, if you have 6 perfumes, why do you need an extra perfume?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, how about we be patient with ourselves and use that perfume? And even like, I love self-care, but I used to do this thing where I would buy more than one face wash. And it's kind of like, no, all of this is excess.
Right.
So let's use one face wash, and when you're done with it, you're going to buy a new one.
Yeah.
Now, when these UGC ads want to start sending me the product, sure, maybe, but it's just like, how do we reduce and reuse? And just, because it starts there. Like, if we have no respect for the water, we have no respect for the whales, we can't even respect ourselves.
Yeah. It's such a shame when I think about it.
It's just so big. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
so grand.
It's too big for me.
And I feel like my last question we kind of already answered. But basically it's about like physical and mental health. And has there ever been a time where you had a difficult decision between pursuing a project and prioritizing your mental health? And you kind of talked about a little bit broadly how, you just want to kind of quit and go do yoga type of thing, or there are just certain things where it's like, oh, I could have been painting at home. I could have been reading a book. I could have been doing a poem. But has there ever been an instance where, it was actually difficult to make the decision between like, oh, trying to do this project, or maybe I actually need this time to focus on me?
Difficult, yes. Yeah, I feel like we kind of answered that question earlier.
Yeah.
About just like having to accept things and disregarding our integrity. So yes, I would say that now I'm at a place where I definitely prioritize my mental and my physical before anything.
Yeah.
Like, that's just where life has led me. Of course, like, I'm curious to see how this works in this society. So far, it's working for me. So I just kind of want to see how I could make it abundant for me.
Yeah. Totally.
Because I just feel so grounded and so Like, I love breathing. And now I'm just like, okay, like, maybe I need to be in the wellness space. You know, and I know there's a lot of people in the wellness space that are creatives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like, okay, now I guess I'm trying to figure out like what part of the wellness space do I belong in? Like, do I incorporate, um, like, you know how there's like breathing workshops, but like breathing and grounding and then writing something to your younger self, or like exploring. I might want to explore that.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm gonna write about this and meditate on this.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Um, I guess this is a good time for me to ask the last question too. What are some of your everyday practices that are intentional? Like, um, you know, is there things that you do every day to like root yourself? And like, when did you decide, or what happened that made you decide to incorporate these things into your routine?
Yeah, that's a great question. Funnily enough, listening to podcasts,
Mm.
podcasts a lot, and I'm trying to remember when I really started doing this. It's probably been about a year or so. I mean, I like listening to other people talk. And at first, it might have come out of necessity when I first moved back home, and like I was separated from the community I had built in New York, and I was like fiending for just like that sense of, oh, just like sitting down and talking with friends and hearing multiple voices and contributing to a conversation. And I think it might have started out of there, but sometimes like hearing people talk about life is, it just like reminds me like what I'm doing here and what, like how I can make this experience great for me. And also just cleaning my body, I really enjoy. I was talking about that earlier. Like I took a shower before our call, and I was just like, I feel so good after I take a shower and so connected to my body. Like old things have really been washed away, and I feel new. Like I really, I really love shower time. Sometimes, like especially when I take showers at night, I like to take showers with the lights off, and
Mm.
I heard it really does something for your like nervous system. And I wanted to try it one day, and I tried it, and I was like, this is just really nice, just being able to focus on the warm water just like washing over me, and just breathing in the steam and just letting loose, and cleaning my body is just so satisfying. And I've always thought that. And so that's kind of like, I'm thinking intentionally, like beyond just cleaning myself, and just kind of like having some time for myself in the shower, and just regulating myself and my breathing, and that type of thing. And yeah, a lot of the times I like to stretch. I really love to stretch, even if it's a short stretch, even if it's like a couple minutes, but I really like to get my body moving, and I'll do that thing where like I tap different areas of my body to remind myself, and to remind my center that it's there and that everything is connected. Because sometimes my leg feels like, different from the rest of my body, or apart from the rest of my body. So I would like tap different parts of my body just to wake them up, and like, we're all here connected to one spine. That type of thing. And that only takes a second, but it's really helpful for me to just like come alive, and just like shake some things out. But yeah. And then a lot of the times I just sit in stillness. And I was telling somebody this too recently, that I just sit in stillness and listen to my surroundings. Makes the world feel like it's going by a little bit slower, especially if I get anxious. I'm just like, I really have to put that intentional time to just like take some deep breaths, and be with the moment. Like put down any devices or screens, and just be with the moment. Yeah.
Wow, I need to try that shower.
Yes. Try the shower. It's good.
Wow, no. Wow.
Showering, like I found different ways in the shower just to like really, really get that, like tap into that solitude, and
Mhm.
just that feeling of freedom. It's the water too. We talked about water like earlier, and I'm just like, I just feel so connected to the water. Like, I'm the type of person who might be in the shower for, some might say, too long sometimes, because I'm like, it feels so good, and it feels like I am literally washing the ick away from the day, and not just the physical ick that is on me. Like, I can really just like rejuvenate my whole experience in there.
That's so spiritual.
Yeah, it is.
That's so spiritual. I used to joke about that I use my shower days and my exfoliation days to baptize myself.
Ooh, yeah.
I used to say that because I mean, like, I was baptized twice. Baptized the baby and then baptized into Catholicism when my parents divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember like finding faith again in my like later teen years and like feeling almost the pressure to get baptized again.
Yeah.
But it not feeling right and it feeling rushed. And I decided to take ownership and said that my exfoliation days are my baptism days. Because it's just me, my mind, my spirit, you know.
Yeah. I love that. Exfoliating. I need to do that soon. I need to have an exfoliation day.
I'm about to do that today.
Hey, yes.
No, yes. That was a lot of great things, and that's so beautiful to take time to yourself, and those little things, like, you know, when you're in a rush and you like take that quick shower, but then you know that later that day you need to take a long shower because that's your time.
Exactly. Every time I'm in the water, it's just so overwhelmingly right. It feels so overwhelmingly right that I'm like, we're supposed to be in the water. Like, the first day of my period the other day, I got into the bathtub. First of all, I didn't know what else to do. The pain was so unbearable that I was just like, I don't know what else to do at this point. And then I remembered something that Dante had mentioned about water births, and I was just like, if people give birth in the water, and I'm having this like experience right now that's related to like producing life, but or like the lack of life that I did not like get to produce in me. So it's like, okay, we're shedding it now.
Yeah.
I was like, well, let's see what happens if I get in the water for this too.
Mm-hmm.
I ran that hot bath, and I climbed into the tub the other day, and that was like the first moment of relief that I felt that day. Like, I was in so much pain before, and I could just like, I started like sweating it out because it was so hot in there, but I didn't care. I was just like, as long as I get some like release, but just like feeling my body like float around, it was just so like, I was just so relieved and in tune with myself. I was just like, yes, something else, like a big liquid heating pad, just like something different and helpful.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, baths. Big ups for baths.
Yeah. Big ups for baths, for real. Wow. There's so much in there. I could literally take it all apart, and it's just like everything is so ancestral. Everything we do.
Yes. Yeah.
We do. It's like if you were, let's say, thousands of years ago, and we just had the earth,
Mm-hmm.
and you felt overwhelmed, the people around you and you would have intuitively gone to the earth to heal you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether that be going into the sun, laying on the floor, going into the ocean, you know, just getting away.
Right.
And how do we incorporate our ancestral selves into our daily lives?
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. I always talk about how connected we are to Earth, and like this big rock that we're floating on is life. Like, it produces life, and we are a product of, like, we rise up from the earth, we go back to the earth, and like the soil and the plants that we literally have to eat. I'm just like, you guys,
People be
forgetting so much. Our priorities are not here.
Not aligned. You know, that's why sometimes people talk to you crazy. You got to look at them.
Right.
Like, excuse me? If a rock came right now, we'll all be gone.
Yeah.
So fix yourself.
Right. Fix it. Right. Fix it.
Shattering my frequencies because we having a bad day.
Yeah.
It's getting overwhelming. I'm a pop a squat. Because something's telling me to get down. And that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think I belong in certain spaces because, like, and I also we went to art school.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn, when shit gets stressful, yes, I want to roll on the floor. But it's like, you can't do that in corporate America.
Let out a huh.
Yes. Let me let out a huh. People looking at you crazy because you want to stretch, because you want to take your shoes off.
Right. I'm going to stop letting people dictate that type of thing. I'm taking my shoes off.
I'm taking my shoes off. What would you say to Prince if he was in the room? You would let him do whatever he wants because he has done the work enough to prove that he deserves to be his authentic self in every space.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we deem some people worthy enough to be their authentic selves in certain spaces? It's like, let us all be our authentic selves and not shame people for being their authentic selves because it makes you uncomfortable.
Oof.
And it's only going to make the people uncomfortable that are not being their authentic selves.
Yeah.
So please, I pray I'm only in spaces that allow us to be our authentic selves. And we never feel the ick of being ourselves when we're looked at a certain way. Like, no, let ick never cover us. Because, no.
Amen. Yes. I really, really appreciate this conversation. Like, I'm going to walk through the rest of the day, you know, carrying myself up, lifting myself up, like, yeah, what the hell?
Same. I also want to actually, let me just use this moment too to, how could I forget? But at this moment, in a certain parts of my life, I think about her. But have you ever had the privilege and the grace to train with Michelle Shea?
I don't think so. Michelle Shea.
I know I'm not messing up her name, but Michelle Shea.
Where did you train with Michelle?
Well, she did the Stella Adler Black Arts program.
Oh, okay. I didn't have her when I did mine during NYU.
She was teaching at like several schools. She was like going up to Brown. She taught at like NYU grad. But her whole philosophy in the training was guided through the chakra points. And I often go back to her in my day-to-day life because she used to tell us that we can control the size of our auras. Wow. And she was like, if you feel like people are staring at you, you're getting too much attention, it's probably your aura's big. She was like, it's okay to bring your aura in a little bit because you want to go through the place and not feel... She was like, you can control these things. If your character was emotional or needed to be vulnerable, she would like guide a meditation and have you open up your heart chakra. If your like character was like struggling to speak, she would do some throat chakra work and have you scream, I have the right to speak, I have the right to speak. And I often find myself relating to her work in real life, like
Right now, I'm thinking about her.
Yes, I'm sure we could Google her.
Yeah.
Legend.
It's gonna be done. We're gonna do it. I wanna pull us into our last activity, the old TV Big Three. I really, I'm just like, of course. We had the best conversation ever. But let's go and let's hear what you have. So you were asked to bring in a TV show and just pick some of the characters to represent your sun, moon, and rising. And what did you end up choosing?
I chose How to Ruin Christmas. It is a South African dramedy on Netflix. I love it because it's farcical. It's like, but it's just so heavy. I would describe it, but I haven't watched it recently, so I don't want to like butcher the plot. But basically,
I'll watch it.
Okay, so y'all are gonna watch it. Okay, great. So Tumi Selo, it's about these two families, the Thwalas and the Selos. Tumi is that she's my rising. I think that she's an Aries. I would say she's an Aries. Her character is like super chaotic, and selfish in a way, but she still has a heart. Not that I think that Aries are chaotic and selfish.
You said,
but Aries do be being chaotic and selfish. And that's a sub.
Oh my goodness.
Beauty Cello is her half sister, who throughout this whole thing she's getting married to the Thwalas, which are a very affluent family. And she is going to be my moon, which is an Aquarius. I'm not an Aquarius, a Capricorn. She's going to be my Capricorn moon. And I would say that because my Capricorn is actually also my Venus.
Okay.
And I think that she worked hard to love. We like see, while the journey is going on, we see her in a lot of like thinking, but also like her thinking is guiding all of her actions. And I feel like that's me as a Capricorn. Like, yes, I can be a hard worker, but I also want to work hard at the things that I love. And in this case, it's her marriage that she's fighting for. My Sag sun would be their mother, Danae Cello. And I just love that she kind of has like a gracefulness where she's watching everything and she decides what she wants to step into. But her purpose and what she steps into is always going to be how to protect her family, how to protect her daughters. Every decision she makes, you can see that it's guided with her thinking about the future of her family. Very selfless person. And I think that that's what my Sag sun leads with.
Yeah.
I did that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And now I'm sitting here like, oh, I want to watch this. Like, I want to go watch this.
Yes, I love it. It had me wanting to watch more South African drama.
Is it only one season?
No, I think there's 2 seasons. I just remember like going, I don't even know. I was watching blindly. I was watching until it was no more. So I think they have 2 seasons. I don't think anything happened after the last season, but they shouldn't stop it. It's so good.
Okay, period. I'm consider it watched. I've been saying that a lot. I've been getting a lot of good recommendations, so I'm excited. I'm really excited.
You'll love this comedy, but drama. This is your vibe.
Okay, good. I love that you said that. Yes, I'm gonna watch it.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you again for coming here and just having such a beautiful conversation with me. I know our listeners are going to really, really love this one, and I'm excited to share this with everybody.
I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me. I've learned so much.
Me too, for sure. And thank you to our listeners and our viewers. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And join us next week for a talk all about dreams. It's going to be so fantastic. And yeah, this has just been such a great honor of mine to sit down here with my friends. And yeah, I'm learning so much.
I can't wait to watch the rest.
That's going to be great. All right, listeners. See y'all next time. Bye.
232425 is a podcast produced and hosted by Josca. Graphic design by Josca. Executive producer, director of photography, and editor, Dante Charles Critchlow. Music by Fadal Moore. A special thanks to Anthony and Celintia Moore, Constance Moore, and Harold Hickson for their contributions to production. And a special thanks to viewers like you who create the community of my wildest dreams. Thank you.
232425 TV.